Okay, this one is for 4th grade, and the test is going to be on March the 7th. Okay, so for the first question that we have, this question was stated as there were 6 times the amount of crackers equals the cereal, and there were 8 crackers. So what I told them, and they should have it written down on their paper, just change out that the amount of times, the amount of crackers, and that just the wording of that question was a little, just sometimes they just need to hear that wording. So if you will just change the numbers and use the wording, that will help them. This question, I told them it made it easy that they could compare these fractions because the denominators were the same. Just practicing comparing fractions of that type. Number 5 is just an addition problem. And we have number 7, just a division. Practicing division with your child will always help. On number 8, they had to pick the perpendicular lines, but if you'll notice on your child's paper, they should have perpendicular and parallel definitions written just so that they're practicing both of those. Number 12 is, if you'll notice on mine, it says from word form. So they took the words and had to write the number in standard or base 10 form. And that's all on that page. Dropped it. Hold on. I don't have my normal setup that I do, so I'm struggling a little today. Sorry. Okay, so the next one that we have is number 6, and it is a question where they told them that this line A or BDF was a straight line, which made that 180, and then they gave them 90 for this angle. What I told them was that meant that BDE would also mean that was 90. So there were 2 ways that they could have solved this. They could have used BDE as 90 and subtracted 30, and that would have given them A, which is what I did right. Well, right there with the purple. Or they could have gone with this being a total of 180, which meant that they were going to use all of these angles and add 90 and 30, which is what we got right here, which is 120, from here to here. And they would take that from 180, which would leave 60 for this last angle. Either way would get on their measurements. On number 12, this one asked what 100 or 1,500 meters would equal in kilometers. So what I told them to make sure that they were studying was that 1 kilometer, kilo being 1,000, 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. And then they were looking at down here, what we have is 1,000 would be 1, so 500 would be a half. So just practicing some different conversions on that. Number 14, rounding. So just making sure that whenever they're doing the rounding that they underline the place value that they are going to be rounding to. I still have some different kids that are not rounding. They don't read the question carefully, making sure that when they read it, they underline the place value immediately to the place value that's going to be rounded and go straight to the place value and underline it. So practicing that. The next question, told them easy peasy on comparing these or subtracting these fractions because the denominators were the same. They could just subtract across the top, didn't have to convert and make these fractions equivalent. And on the last page. So on this one, we were given the perimeter. They should have the definition of perimeter. We knew the perimeter was 30. If the 2 widths were 5, that would give us a total of 10, leaving us with 20 for the lengths. And that would need to be divided by 2 to give us one of the lengths. And they should have a picture drawn on theirs where we kind of like stretched out the perimeter and we kind of split it into the two two widths with 5 and 5, and then that left us with 20, and then we split that into two pieces, and then each one of those were 10. On this one, multiples are the number that you hear when you skip count. This one's a little tricky because they're asking you, when will you hear the multiple 45? So in all honesty, you're actually finding the factors of 45, so that's kind of a little tricky for them because they think multiples, they're thinking skip count by 45, but really you're just asking for when will you hear 45. So it's going to be, if you skip count by 3, you would hear 45, skip count by 5, you would hear 45, skip count by 9. They also provided them with 1, 15, and 45. But once again, that's not necessarily going to be the number, so just making sure that they understand that. We're talking about parallel, perpendicular, intersecting lines. And on this particular, we were talking about with quadrilaterals, which is what we've been talking about this week in our lesson as far as homework. So with this trapezoid, they were asked to identify the two line segments that were parallel. And that was line segment AB and line segment CD. Another one of the matrix problems. If you're wondering how to do those, you can look back at some of my videos on how to complete one of those. And the last problem, this one was tricky. It was a question that said that a child had gone sledding and the hill was 9 meters high. When she got to the bottom, she slid 2 more meters. How much farther did she slide in centimeters? So initially they think that they're supposed to convert 11 meters to centimeters, but you're really only converting the 2 meters. So just using that wording will help them remember to pay attention to the wording of a question. And real quick, I wanted to show you this. This is for my friends that are watching my videos. Okay, so my favorite fast facts are 3 times 8 is 24, 6 times 4 is 24, 2 times 12 is 24. But shh, keep this a secret. Write it on your test on Thursday and receive some extra points. But remember, don't tell anyone. This is only for the friends that watch my videos. Be sure to keep it a secret. See you guys tomorrow.